Good morning. It's morning time here in Spring, Texas. Just wanting to get you in on today's pouring. It's going to be similar to what I've been doing the last few videos, but slightly different. Excuse me while I adjust the camera here a little bit. And I'm hoping that you will get some benefit from it. So first off, what I'm doing that's been sort of the same is I am using my Liquitex gesso, and I'm mixing that in with 1 or 2 tiny drops of this silicone. Nourishing coconut milk. Really nice. Got it on Amazon. Tiny bit. The only place I have the silicone today is in the Liquitex clear gesso. First up, I'm going to be pouring that onto and smoothing it out with my wonderful OXO spatula. It's great flexibility, allows it to be wonderful for smoothing, and it's very helpful in getting it around quickly. Other than that, I've mixed a couple of colors this morning using my Liquitex Basics, Bright Aqua, and Unbleached Titanium. My other 3 or 4 colors over here are going to be from Lucas Krill Liquid Acrylics, and they were left over from yesterday's pouring. And I use these little 4-ounce cups, and what I have found is if I will put a little bit of paint around the rim of the cup, like you can see kind of around the rim here, and then set another cup upside down on top of it, it will cover it up enough and seal just enough to keep the paint workable. There's 2 colors in there, that's why you see it like that. I didn't want to mix them, I wanted them to be ready for pouring. You can see there's a magenta there with some violet. There's a blue that has a little bit of blue-green in it. Barely can see it there. And then there's mostly silver left, but I used purple upside down on it, so there's a little purple blue in my silver. And I think it's going to be fantastic. I'm really curious to see how this kind of motley crew mix of colors works out. So first up, we're going to take this. You can see this is about 2/3 full. The Liquitex is a much creamier paint. I'll probably have leftovers here because I won't use all that. And I had to add a lot more pouring medium. I use Liquitex pouring medium in my paints to water them down a little bit or make them a little bit thinner. And it's okay to put a little water in with it if you feel like you're using a thick paint to do that. Again, this is the only place we have silicone is in here. So our seal formation will be purely from this. As far as I know today, no other silicone has been added to anything I'm using. I mean, I know there's no other silicone that I've added. So, here I go. Make it all onto the surface here. I will be reusing this little cup to mix all the colors in before I dump it onto the thing here, onto the 12x12 canvas. This is just a real basic academic canvas from Michaels. These are like practice pours for me. This is maybe my 4th video. And so I'm new to all of this, but I'm learning a lot. I've done some beautiful pours and some that I think are just okay. And what I'm finding out is the last few have been really good. And I think it's because, one of the reasons is because I'm using this wonderful Liquitex clear gesso. And it really allows the paint to glide around on there. So I'm trying to get it on there sort of smoothly. I'm not worried about being perfectly smooth, but I want it to be a little bit smooth. And I don't want to waste, so let's rub that on the edge there. I want to make sure I get to the corners. And so all surfaces have the gesso on it because I want it to have at least that ability to allow the paint to glide around, which is the primary reason for using this product on this kind of work. I use gesso all the time when I do like a regular painting of a subject or what have you, but I've discovered that it has a great purpose in this as well. So putting this to the side for now, I'll be using it a little bit perhaps later. That's an OXO omelet spatula, by the way, if you're curious. Now I'm taking my cup, a little 4-ounce cup here. Then I'm going to start off with my aqua, pouring a little in there. And it's a thickness of maybe a milkshake, sort of. Not a real thick, but a thin milkshake, perhaps. Then after the aqua, I'm going to do a little bit of this beautiful titanium, unbleached titanium pause for a second there while I get the name of the color correct for you. After that, I'm going to do some purple, magenta, and again, this is left over from yesterday, so it's 2 colors, and it's a lot thinner. The Lucas Krill is much thinner, and I actually kind of like that. I'm going to do the silver next. This silver adds a nice touch to the pourings. It gives it some lighter areas and some shimmer, which, you know, I think most people enjoy a little bit of glimmer or shimmer. You kind of see there what I've got going on. I'm going to go back now with some cream. I'm going to go kind of in a different order this time. Some cream again. Some of the aqua on top of that. I have a little drop there, and I can already see that that's starting to respond a little bit to the silicone, which is fantastic. Let's see if I can get another dribble of blue in here. Just a little bitty bit. Come on out, you blue. Okay, that's I think about all I'm going to get. A little bit of the purple in here too now. And then another splash of silver on top of that. I like to leave a little bit in my cups because I realize that I'm going to probably need to do some touch-ups. That's kind of part of the process here. Get that little fleck out of there if I can. So I want to do it without screwing too, there we go, without screwing too much up here. All right, now you can see that I've got a full cup there, full 4 ounces. And I'm going to just start and do a little bit of pouring like this. Just going around in sort of a circular pattern, as you can see, and getting all of that onto the surface like that. This is where the little spatula comes in handy again for getting that last little bit out. There we go. I was doing some pourings yesterday and using some beautiful blues and greens, and then another one that was lots of purples. And the purple one, while I love it, it's quite dark. And so it made me really think that I wanted to incorporate some lighter color in today. So that's one of the reasons that I'm adding this titanium, unbleached titanium, to give it a nice soft effect in some areas. So we have it going on there. You can see that it's well out on there. It's covering probably half of the surface. I already see a little bit going on there in the way of cells starting to slightly bubble. Now I'm going to move this fairly slowly because I want to try to keep a little bit of this circular thing that I have going on. So I'm going to take my time with this. So if you could be just a little bit patient with me this morning as I move this paint around. I kind of want to take it easy and get the paint onto the edges and into the corners without going off the side too quickly. So that's going to take some tricky and paint. Oh, I'm already going off one side there. I see that. Well, kind of hard not to, but I'm going to get as close to these corners as I can, and just before they get there, I'm going to pull back. I'm going to recenter. And what I've noticed about using the gesso on the bottom here too is that I get these wonderful whites showing up. So it actually comes through the paint a little bit. Now sometimes it leaves a low-lying area here and there in the paint, which is not a huge thing. You're going to get some separation when you're using silicone no matter, but it can leave a little indentation here and there. And so when you go over it with your clear coat, after it's completely cured for a few days, then those should fill in pretty well and not leave a lot of gaps there. Okay, I'm going to tilt it away from you for a minute, so bear with me. You won't be able to see quite as well. Same sort of thing is happening still, just on the other ends. Got to get to these other ends. And of course, the thinner I spread it, the more slowly it's going to move because there's less mess. It's clinging to that wonderful gesso. Let me take my finger and smooth that gesso right there so it'll kind of mix in and allow that paint to move over there. There we go. Here we go. Get that corner too. These edges. Come on, baby. Do the twist. Now teaching it this way or tilting it this way. I'm a middle school art teacher, so I do a lot of teaching. This is the kind of thing that the kids would really enjoy doing. Unfortunately, art budgets don't always allow for this much fun. Although, you know, we can do some version of this, hopefully, this year. I might try to figure out some sort of fundraising to do in the not too distant future so we can all get a little canvas and get a little pouring action going on. Trying to center a little bit first before I slide over here. Too far. Here we go. You can see what's happening. That wonderful swirl. When you swirl the paint out, it really does retain that wonderful swirl. Now, there are things you can do if you don't like that or you don't want to do it that way. You can do the cup dump thing. And that gives you options too. I haven't done that yet. I've found enough other things to do that I've liked that I just haven't done it. And I'm okay with that. It's still on my to-do list though, to try it. To see why it's all the rage with everybody else, I guess. Coming over here with a gesso. Try to ease it out a little bit into this corner. This is all a learning experience. You know, when you're painting stuff like this, every time you do it, maybe you try one or two things a little bit differently. And so you really are learning what works, what does what effect, and try to replicate those things that you like and avoid those things that you don't like. Just like in most of life, right? Oh, look at this swirl on the paper towel. I lay paper towels down because this is obviously a messy undertaking. Now, I'm going to tilt back toward the center here to try to get this recentered, this circular pattern. I've got some beautiful paints on the surface over here that I'm going to touch the edges and corners with as I try to fill them in with this beautiful swirling pattern. Because it's still swirling beautifully when it goes onto the surface here. If you don't blend it, you've got that beautiful swirl that you can touch up your edges with. I like my paints to have a three-dimensional look to them, so I do like to get the edges painted. Some people prefer a solid color on the edges. That's a preference. I'm sure that's as different as each artist doing the painting is. So do what you know in your paintings, obviously. Coming over to the side here. Now the sides I don't put the gesso on. A lot of the times it slides down there anyway while we're moving the paint around. So it does assist, but it's not something I do intentionally or put great effort into. The paint, however, is a different story. Now, the thing about silicone painting is that paint is going to slide and move around. It's going to keep on moving. It doesn't stop moving for a while, and especially when you're tilting like this. Now, I can't see that front edge, so I'm going to stand up for a second and get up there at the front and take a look and try to get some paint on there while I still have some pretty swirling paints on the surface over here to pick up and lay on there to get that beautiful edges that I want to. Again, giving it that three-dimensional sort of all-around poured look that I think is gorgeous. This takes a couple minutes, so you're going to be patient with yourself. Or in this case, patient with me while I do this, I guess. But I think it's something that you would enjoy trying. If you haven't tried it, try including your edges In fact, it's hard not to include them, so you might as well embrace that. And it just adds a dimension to your work, I believe. It makes it that much more interesting. Okay, so I feel like I've got the edges pretty well. Now they're not going to stay like that because, as I said, this paint continuously moves. It just doesn't stop. Okay, once I get satisfied that I have the edges, and I'm just about there. Okay, we're going to get the torch and do a little bit of bringing out of these cells with the addition of heat here. Okay, I feel like that's about what I need to do for the moment. Set the spoon to the side for a minute. I'm going to tilt this ever so slightly again this way and try to get this whole big circle sort of in the center again. Sort of centered up a little bitty bit. And I'm thinking I want to take my skewer. I always keep a couple of kitchen skewers handy. And do a little swirling in here because I'm seeing that this isn't doing what I want it to do as far as the color blending. So I do some light work in here to kind of help that process along. And I'm not ashamed to do that. I think it's fun to do. And it definitely adds to the blending of the color. Now, I'm going to leave it like that for a minute, and then I'm going to see what I can do with the torch. So pardon me momentarily while I grab that torch right over here. I'm going to wipe my fingers off on a paper towel. Grab my torch. I do have gloves on, but you know, of course the gloves get nasty. This is a sort of a messy process. But that's sort of part of the fun, if you're expecting it. Okay, I have a little inexpensive $20 torch I got from Amazon. You can use for creme brulee in the kitchen or what have you. We're doing a nice even sweep across this back and forth. Keep that torch moving. It's hot. And you're really just trying to pop the bubbles that are there and sort of accelerate that process of cell development. Which again, on this particular pour, it has like one fat drop or two tiny drops of silicone only in the gesso, the first lay down of liquid on this 12 by 12 canvas. And I'm liking this color combo here. That addition of the light colors really just kind of makes the dark colors appear that much darker. It really makes it special, I think. So I'm going to pause for a moment on that. Probably 30 seconds or so, maybe slightly longer. And then I'm going to see what we have going on here in the way of cells. Let's take a look. Definitely, we have some coming along. Right over here, I see quite a few. I like to use the skewers when I tilt, too. Keeps the gloves from getting nasty, and then, of course, I have to wipe my hands again and again and again. I wash my hands enough in the classroom, so trying to avoid washing them too much. Or, of course, in the kitchen, too. If I see a bubble, I take my little skewer and give it a little pop. When I see them forming, but they didn't take care of themselves. This is really quite beautiful. Now, I don't have a lot going on in the center yet, so I'm going to give it a minute or two. I'm also going to come over here with my skewer and do a little bit of swirling in here. Trying to get some of this wonderful Now in my last 2 or 3 pours, I've done probably 2 drops of 2 different kinds of silicone. I used the one I showed you, and a couple of drops of treadmill silicone, which is a little bit thinner, I think, to get some of that developing color. Yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing, but I'm wanting a little bit more development here. So let me grab the torch once again. Do just a little more tilt first, though. I'm just feeling that I need to for some reason. Sometimes you can't explain it. You just feel the need. I'm tilting it toward you now so you can really see what's going on. You can see that there are cells developing. Sometimes it's just a slower process. And it continues to develop as the time passes. They will develop and grow. There's smallish cells in here today. And so I'm learning. Like I said, I'm learning. I use the coconut milk silicone in a small amount and only in the underlayer of gesso. So there's not a great deal of silicone in this particular piece. And maybe that's what I need to learn, is that I need a little bit more of that. Now you can add it to your paint, and sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. I like to change it up and kind of explore what the variables do, you know, in among themselves, because it's always interesting. You always get surprises. Okay, another pass with the torch here. Turning it till I hear that hiss of stuff coming out. Oh, I think I got some on the edge here. I did. I'll have to take a spoonful and put it over there in a second. I see this pretty silver streak through here. Okay, I'm going to shut it off again and give it a little rest. And then I've kind of boogered up an area over here, so I'm going to scoop up some of my wonderful drippings right here. I touched it with the edge of the torch, one of the corners of the plastic base, which occasionally I do. You know, you try to fix things and sometimes you end up screwing them up, so I think we call that learning. Oh, here we go. There we go. A little bit of the mix in there. I want it to look as natural as possible, of course. And sometimes you get those separated areas like I was talking about earlier, so you have to go back and touch a little bit. Now, I do like what I have going on here. It almost looks like sort of a rock texture, if you will. I'm going to take this and do just a little bit right here. I'm going to wipe it off a little bit first, make sure I have the goopy off of it. Sometimes these skewers can be so fantastic for lots of different things. Oh yeah. Well, I'm not sure that's going to be an improvement. It's got a skin on it, so let me pull that out. This may have been something I wish I'd have left alone. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to torch that just a hair right there. Oh, pooty poo. You know, the beauty of it is no one has to know I'm doing this. All right. So let's see if I can get this to do a little more of what I want it to do over here. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. And I just have to accept that. What's cool about this is that, like I said, sometimes I like to keep a drop or two of stuff that I've had to the side here. Bring it over here and put a little bit in to kind of give it a little bit of a swirl or some kind of a different effect. Making it look a little bit more like it happened au naturel, even if it didn't. Okay. So a quick retorching right there to see if I can make that spot look a little bit more natural. And then we're going to call this puppy done. Sometimes it just is what it is. And sometimes there's just less of the cells. And again, that process may be just a learning process for me because, as I said, I used a little less silicone this time and using it only in the gesso. So I am truly experimenting here and learning what I like, what I don't like, and how to get the effects that are various when I want them. One more quick trip around the edges because I do like those edges to have a little finish on them as well. There we go. And we are finished. I don't think I said my name. I'm Sheilah, middle school art teacher. And I hope you enjoyed today's pouring video. Have a wonderful day.